It is safe to say that the latest reveals within One Piece have blown everybody's minds, and in this video I want to dive into the finer details of the story and try to understand as much as we can about Luffy awakening the abilities of his Devil Fruit. What does Gear 5 have to do with the Sun God Nika, or even Joy Boy? We are aware that Luffy utilizes this new transformation against Kaido. He has demonstrated ridiculous abilities, and proving why he is more than just a rubber human, and that he didn't just eat a simple rubber Devil Fruit. Through Gear 5 we can appreciate that Luffy has attained legendary abilities, and it is no doubt that these powers will help him to become the Pirate King. So without further delay, let's dive into my breakdown and analysis of Gear 5, as we piece together as much as we can about this new transformation, from the very little information that we have about it from the most recent chapters of the story. Gear 5 had first debuted within chapter 1044. It is a transformation that occurs as a result of Luffy awakening the powers of his Gomu Gomu no Mi. This had occurred during his third and most likely final battle with Kaido on the rooftop of Onigashima. There are a lot of theories and fan speculation online stating that Oda had been planning for Gear 5 for a long time through the hints that we have about Nika, aka the Sun God, as well as Joy Boy. Some people believe that Oda's foreshadowing was in plain sight for all of us to see, and with a story that's been running since 1997, it is fascinating to see points that Oda had wrote about almost 15 to 20 years ago being touched upon in the latest chapters of the story. Upon awakening his Devil Fruit and attaining the Gear 5 form, Luffy's rubber body is strengthened and he is given more freedom. This allows him to inflate his arms and muscles on command, so he doesn't need to blow into them anymore. It was thanks to this that he was able to manhandle Kaido and to toss him around in his dragon form, and this is exactly what I mean when I said that Luffy's Gear 5 form is the most cartoonish of all of his transformations. He no longer relies on his armament haki while he is in this form. He has the ability to manipulate his environment and to turn it into rubber, which allows him to easily deflect Kaido's bolo breath back at him. Luffy's Devil Fruit, the Gomu Gomu no Mi, was originally known as the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika, but the word government had gone through a great deal of effort to erase the existence of this Devil Fruit and to give it an entirely new name. When Luffy awakens his Devil Fruit, he is literally granted a power with limitless potential, which is only limited by his imagination, and it's for this reason that the Gear 5 form is the embodiment of freedom, and through the way that Luffy fights while in this form, it brings joy to the people around him. We are aware that the 5 elders had referred to Luffy's awakened Devil Fruit as the most ridiculous power in the world. Gear 5 is associated with a lot of cartoon-like effects. These effects are not just limited to the user of this power, but they occur to those who are around him. These cartoonish effects include a large bump that appears after a head injury, or the quite notable eye-popping effects that a lot of people have commented upon in the recent chapters. While in Gear 5, Luffy appears to be on a high, as he is constantly laughing and brimming with confidence. Zunisha had also commented upon Luffy awakening his Devil Fruit by stating that his heartbeat has taken on a musical rhythm. It is described as the drums of liberation. In addition to his change of heartbeat, Luffy's hair and clothes turn white, and his eyes appear to have glowing white rings, and he has these notable white clouds that are around his neck and under his arms, and they are similar to the steam clouds that we see when he uses Gear 4. A large amount of haki is released while Luffy is in this form, and it is so much so that it is felt right at the bottom of Onigashima. Kaido comments on Gear 5 as he states that Luffy has become something out of a comic book, but this is thanks to Luffy's mythical Zoan Devil Fruit. For the entirety of the series, we were led to believe that the Gomu Gomu no Mi was a paramecia type fruit, when in actuality it was anything but this. Luffy's rubber body becomes stronger, more durable, and there is an emphasis on the idea that he has more freedom while he is in this form, in comparison to the previous gear transformations that he had. Luffy was able to take a direct hit of Kaido's bolo breath. After this, it appears as though he was barely hurt by it, and his body appeared to have been charred like a cartoon character. He immediately bounces back from this attack and continues to fight Kaido. Another instance of Luffy's body adapting and becoming more durable during attack is when he is attacked by Kaido's club. His head appears to wrap around it, as these spikes appear to be poking out of Luffy's face. When Kaido had thrown Luffy's body into the ground, it had comically squished together and had bounced back into its original shape. I had mentioned earlier that Luffy was able to inflate his limbs and muscles like in Gear 3 and Gear 4 without needing to pump air into his body, while Luffy can also inflate the entirety of his body all at once, which in turn literally transforms him into a giant. We know that Luffy is able to manipulate his surroundings and to turn the ground into rubber. He does so in order to cushion himself from a powerful attack, or even use it as a springboard to bounce off of. Luffy's Devil Fruit is very fascinating, and Kaido had stated that it was unusual, as it appears to demonstrate elements of both paramecia and Zoan type awakenings. When Luffy is swollen followed by Kaido, we get to see how his abilities have an effect on organic matter. It allows him to attack his opponents in very unorthodox ways, as he is able to stretch through whatever he pleases. We see this when he tries to escape from Kaido's body, as he stretches his arms through Kaido's eyes. Another example of this is when Luffy swings his arms around like a helicopter and he attacks Kaido in the face. This strike appears to go through Kaido's head, as it is powerful enough to knock him down to the ground, as it appears as though Luffy was able to overcome Kaido's incredible defensive abilities. Before striking Kaido, he comments that Luffy is using Armament Haki and Conqueror's Haki at the same time, and because this was the first time that he had used this type of attack, the full extent of this ability is unknown. The current displays of Gear 5 that we have seen are very unrefined and are evidently the early stages of this form, as Luffy has had no time to train or gain any experience with it. So despite how powerful it is and how much strength Luffy has, he is unable to use it effectively, because Gear 5 consumes a lot of energy, not only to use it, but in order to maintain this form. When Gear 5 wears off, we see that Luffy has visibly aged, and it's similar to the side effects that we see in Gear 3, when after Luffy enlarges one of his limbs, he shrinks down to a small size. After using Gear 5, he is incredibly exhausted and has a lot of fatigue. People had questioned whether if Luffy can transform in and out of Gear 5 of his own will. It seems as though he can transform back into Gear 5 if he changes the rhythm of his heartbeat to match that of the Drums of Liberation. Now, I've spoken a lot about the cartoonish effects that are associated with Gear 5. Well, it seems as though Oda has taken inspiration from a specific type of animation style called rubber hose animation. This was one of the first animation styles that had become popularized within American animation, and the main feature of this style are the rubber hose limbs that the characters have, as the arms and legs are simple flowing curves without any real articulation. Rubber hose animation had gone on to inspire series like Popeye the Sailor Man, which we know is another inspiration that Oda draws upon when Luffy inflates his limbs in Gear 3 or pumps up his muscles in Gear 4, similar to how Popeye the Sailor Man's muscles inflate after he eats spinach. This rubber hose animation style has also influenced modern series like Adventure Time, and is seen in games like Cuphead. Another fun fact about Gear 5 is that Luffy's eyebrows also change shape, as they take on this circular swirled shape, which are similar to Kaido's eyebrows when he transforms into his dragon form or his hybrid dragon human form. Now, while in Gear 5, Luffy has demonstrated a handful of techniques and abilities, the most important of which I've spoken about, is the Gomu Gomu no Gigant, which is where Luffy inflates all of his body and transforms into a giant, like he has activated Gear 3 on all of his body. Some people did assume that Luffy attaining Gear 5 would result in gigantification, as it appears that this concept has been a central focus of the story ever since we were at Punk Hazard. Another ability that Luffy uses is Gomu Gomu no Fusen. When he is devoured by Kaido, he uses this ability to not only expand himself but Kaido also to ridiculous proportions. Now, when Luffy uses this ability in Gear 5, it is very different to his original technique, as we have seen that it affects his body and other organic matter also, and in addition to this, his body takes up the characteristics of a helium balloon, as it is able to keep afloat in the air. Luffy uses another ability called Gomu Gomu no Nawatobi, which is rubber skipping rope. While he is in his giant form, Luffy grabs Kaido in his dragon form and uses his body as a skipping rope, once again proving that his new abilities not only have an effect on his surroundings, but also on organic matter. Now, an important thing that isn't discussed widely about Gear 5 is the effect that it has on Luffy's personality. Prior to attaining this transformation, Luffy was in a very desperate situation and he was aware of the stakes and what was on the line. But after attaining Gear 5, it feels as though he has no care in the world, and he is not taking the fight seriously. We know that Zoan type devil fruits have a will of their own, so can we speculate that Luffy is utilizing the will of Joy Boy here? The personality that we see Luffy adopt after chapter 1044 is very different. After he turns into Gear 5, Luffy starts to laugh uncontrollably. This is because he finds his heartbeat funny. We know that his entire way of fighting is completely different in this form, and I don't think it's too wild to assume that Luffy's personality is also changed, as it seems as though he really doesn't care. When Luffy's Gear 5 does momentarily wear off, we see Luffy become serious once again, as he has this shift in personality, but when he transforms back into Gear 5, the laughter resumes and he returns to this careless nature. It is yet to be seen whether if Luffy is switching to and from the persona of Joy Boy. I think that this entire shift in personality is as a result of Luffy being very inexperienced in this form, and he cannot control this careless and goofy nature that Gear 5 comes with. But the more and more that he uses this ability, then the more that we will see Luffy's real personality blend into this transformation. So the more that we see him control his devil fruit and Gear 5, then hopefully it will limit the carelessness and the goofiness that comes with Gear 5. 5. This is all speculation because Gear 5 is still such a new transformation, and it is for this reason that I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What do you think about what we have seen of Gear 5 so far? Are you impressed by this transformation, or was it a letdown for you? I for one have really enjoyed seeing Luffy adopt this careless and carefree attitude and demonstrate newfound abilities which I never thought that he would have. Because of these recent developments within the story of One Piece, it really makes me confident that Luffy can become one of the strongest characters in the series if he refines the powers of his devil fruit. So yeah, definitely continue the discussion in the comments, and thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next One Piece video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.